My refrigerator would stop working in the travel trailer, would ruin food and ruin the outing. I got it fixed. I'm going to share that with you. In this video, I'm going to show you the fix for my RV refrigerator problem. It worked for me, maybe it'll work for you. At least it'll give you some ways to troubleshoot your refrigerator and help solve the problem that you might have. What would happen is we would camp at places that are over 5,000 feet. So when the refrigerator reaches its cooling temperature and shuts off, it stays that way until it starts to warm up again. Then the refrigerator kicks back on. Well, ours would not do that all the time. You couldn't predict when it was going to happen. I had a good idea of when it was in the morning, but not really knowing the reason why. Try to find an RV refrigerator technician. Everybody's busy, they're months out, and the answer that I got when I looked around was, oh, you need a new one. Well, I didn't think that was really a solution, so that put me on a mission to find an answer to this problem that we had. Maybe it will help you. At very least, some of the things, the tools, and the information that I found might help you solving the RV refrigerator problem that you might have. First fix was I needed to know when the thing was shut off so that I could turn it back on, because for me, all I had to do was turn it off and turn it back on again, and it would stay running for a while. Most of the time it would run until the next evening, so it was predictably at least once in a 24-hour period, and usually at night. I went online and I found a temperature sensor that would go inside the refrigerator and transmit out to a receiver outside the refrigerator, so you didn't have to open the door to get the reading. This is the Accurite weather sensor, and I'll put a link in the description below for it. And I labeled it one of them fridge and one of them freezer. This is the receiver. This here is the sensor. It's got a little clamp, and that goes in the refrigerator and freezer. And you'll see some video here about where that is. Anyway, it works great. You can set the threshold for if it's too cold or too hot, and an alarm goes off. And it's got these little buttons here where you can push the button and set the alarm so it'll go off when it reaches that point or not, or turn it off when it starts alarming. Anyway, that was great. So every time it would start warming up, for me, I had to wake up, run down the trailer, and start and stop the refrigerator again. The only problem was, well, it sounded like this. Yeah, and that's not good, especially at 4 in the morning when you're trying to sleep. It worked for a while. It was a good way to preserve the food, right? So at least the food being spoiled would not be a problem. So pushing beyond that, I used my RVWhisper, which I did another video on previously, that alerts on different things in the trailer. And so if the temperature was too high or too low or whatever, it could alert me. But the problem with that is that we boondock a lot, and there's not cell service in most places that we go. The really nice thing about the RVWhisper is that it would track and keep track of all that information for me. So as the refrigerator would warm up and cool down, I could see patterns, the cycles of it warming up and cooling down. So even though I wouldn't get alerted at the moment, I could look back historically and see when the problem would start. So now I know two things. It happens wee hours of the morning, like 2 to 4 o'clock in the morning, when it's coldest, when we're in elevation areas above 5,000 feet, and how long it takes to get the refrigerator back cold again. So now two things are going on. I have a refrigerator that doesn't keep running all the time, and I have an alarm that keeps letting me know that refrigerator's not working when it should be. So that is super annoying. So that made me call around to additional RV places in our area. I called 3 different places, and of course no one has a refrigerator specialist on hand. Go figure. There's over 40 million RVs that are active right now, and the majority of them have absorption type refrigerators. So that's a common thing. You'd think that would be the deal. Nobody works on them specifically, and the wait time is months. You know, who can do that? I look online of all the normal places you go for RV parts, and oh yeah, you could buy a brand new refrigerator and go through the effort of replacing that. It seemed like an extreme measure for a refrigerator that works. When you plug it on electricity, it works all the time. But if you're out camping and you're boondocking, that's not going to work. You can't run your refrigerator on a generator 24 hours a day, especially if you're staying in a campground. They don't allow that. And even if you're not in a campground, you're not going to have that running all night long. Who wants to do that? So I did more research. There's an Amish community that makes refrigerator replacement parts that you can just stick in the back, but you don't just stick it in the back. You've got to pull everything apart, and you've got to do a fair amount of work to make this happen. And I still thought there's got to be a simpler solution to this. And again, I don't know anything about refrigeration, so I'm on a quest. I went on some forums, I emailed some people, and no one, surprisingly to me, no one has an idea. Nobody knows anything. That's what I got out of it. Well, I found this website that trains RV refrigeration technicians. I thought, oh my gosh, home run. Here we go. They're out of business. They've done it for so many years. They're done. They stopped doing it. They've moved on. But their website has tons of information. So I ordered a book online from them, got that book, and I'll show you that book here. And the link will be in the description below. They also have some videos. I watched a bunch of their videos on how to fix an RV refrigerator. But the biggest thing I got out of this is that these are not complicated systems. So now I've purchased and watched all the videos from the Ford Refrigeration website. I purchased their book, went through all that, and they were the best of everyone that I've been through that actually had information you could use. They actually had step-by-step, and here's how it is. And I thought, wow, that's just what I needed to do. So I started on that process. Turns out the manufacturer for Dometic refrigerators, and mine's a Dometic 2652, they say, don't expect a refrigerator to run in elevations over 4,000 feet. What? Huh? Yeah, that's not an answer. Who's going to run a generator 24 hours a day to keep your refrigerator running, especially up in the mountains or in the wilderness? My refrigerator's in the back of the travel trailer, and so I have a vent cover back there. Oh, your refrigerator needs more air. The air fuel mix is so thin when you get at elevation, that's what you've got to fix. Okay. I pop the cover off, I leave it there on multiple camping trips. And again, what do I hear? Didn't fix the problem. Another option was my propane supplier. I went to them and I said, well, hey, I've got this problem, blah, blah, blah. What you need to replace the valves on the front of your travel trailer so that when you screw on your new tanks, or when you fill up your tanks and you screw them in, there's no restriction. The problem is you're getting restriction and not enough flow. I already had an auto switching valve on my trailer. So I took that off, put new hoses on, screwed that onto the travel trailer, thought, okay, let's try that. I thought it worked. A couple trips out. Yep, there's that noise again. The problem was not solved. So that didn't work. I put the old valve back on, put my original hoses back on because they have the safety check valves. The next thing to do is check the orifice. It was painstaking. I took the burner assembly apart. And there's lots of videos about how to do that. You take it apart, clean all the parts, inspect them, and I have pictures here that you're going to see. I took pictures of the orifice, I cleaned, sanded, took pictures of the burner assembly, and the whole thing. Put it all back together. I thought, wow, this is immaculate. It's going to work. Okay, now I'm getting frustrated, so more and more research. I went back and read all the information from the Ford refrigerator repair company guys, watched all the different videos that he had about that, and you know what I took away from his, and I highly recommend, if you're interested in refrigeration, you need to check this guy out, and there'll be a link in the description below. He makes it so simple and so straightforward on what RV refrigeration is all about, absorption refrigerators. It's the way to go. It simplifies everything, why a refrigerator works. The only thing left I have is to check the individual components. I know that the unit that holds all the ammonia and the chemical that makes the refrigerator do its thing, its magic, that thing was in great shape. There were no leaks or anything. That was the first step. The next is check the burner, check the flue. In my case, I tried the electricity first. You fire it up. I ran it for at least a week, and it was great. No failure. Everything worked as it needed to do. Now the problem part, which is propane. Fired on propane. That's right. That's the magic. You want that. But the problem is, when we're out camping, it would sound like this. And that's not what you want. That's not what you want to have going on. So not only did I clean the orifice, I cleaned the burner tube assembly. I took my endoscope, my Wi-Fi endoscope, that there'll be a link in the description below. And that's an amazing tool. I use it for all kinds of things, not just for my RV. I shoved that up the flue tube to see what particles are in there, because I would find little white flakes of stuff coming out. So I'd shove that up in there, it looks clean. Everything looks great, but that still didn't make a difference. So now the only thing I've left on how you troubleshoot RV refrigeration, and that's the control board. The control board handles everything. It controls the eyebrow board that's on your refrigerator and the sensor, all the triggers for turning everything on. So I contacted Dinosaur Electronics. I told them what model of RV refrigerator I had, the Dometic 2652. They gave me the model number of the Dinosaur board that I needed to order. They shipped it to me. I opened up the box. It's got all the parts in it that I needed. It's got the cover, the circuit board, and the instruction sheet on how to put it in. There are only 3 screws that hold it on to your RV compartment when you put it back there. That's the easiest part. The only thing that would be complicated about this installation is that there's not a lot of room where it goes. The first thing you do, though, before you do anything starting this replacement, is disconnect the power and turn off the gas. Just do it. Unplug the electricity, disconnect your battery, turn off the gas, unplug the RV. This is only going to take you 20 minutes to replace this thing. The circuit board, you'll see a picture of it here, it's got all these wires that are hooked to it, and you're just going to unplug them in the order that you take them off is the order you're going to put them back on. Use painter's tape or something and put a marker on them. Write down the number and just put them back in that order. And the circuit board instructions sheet that they send with you on how to replace it could not be more clear. So the first thing you're going to do is disconnect your battery, turn off the gas, and unplug any 110 power coming into your RV. This installation takes you probably about 20 minutes, maybe less, maybe more if you take your time and you just want to be cautious about it. Now, we've been out camping at least 2 months now with that control board in there, and the biggest thing that I've noticed is that the refrigerator works. It doesn't shut off. But the biggest takeaway from this was it's not like it made the refrigerator run better, but it controlled the ignition cycle. They have a different ignition cycle in their control board, which actually makes up for any kind of a variance or flaw that you might have in your system. So when your refrigerator goes to light, it triggers for a certain amount of time, and if it fails, it goes back and tries again. Well, what we found is when it got cold, it took a little bit longer for that refrigerator to light back up again. The sequence is better than the stock board. It's quicker, it goes multiple times before it trips and fails. There's a certain point where it keeps trying to light, and then it will shut off for safety because you want that. You want that built in. But their pattern changed everything. The refrigerator continues to run. It still struggles sometimes, right, to light and stay lit, but it gets through that process, and all it needs is that little extra help to get by. In the end, that's what fixed my refrigerator operation problem, and that was replacing the control board. I hope this video helped you in some way. I'll put links down below to all the information that I found, the different websites, and where you can get information to help you solve refrigerator problems in your RV. I appreciate you watching. If you're not a subscriber, consider subscribing down below, clicking that bell, and getting notified every time I make a new video, whether it's a travel video or some sort of RV modification or an upgrade or repair like this video. I appreciate your support. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.